Hello and welcome to One India English's live. Today we are discussing a rather timely topic, which is something, and we are joined by senior psychiatrist, Dr. Amitabh Saha on this live. Thank you for joining us, Doctor. So this conversation is obviously, it's triggered partly because of the unfortunate suicide we witnessed yesterday of Sushant Singh Rajput, a very popular and rising, almost, he had a hold in the Bollywood industry. He was on his way to be a star if he wasn't already one. And yet he took the extreme step of committing suicide. So that's the trigger. But apart from that, mental health is a conversation we must continue to have. And also in the backdrop of this coronavirus pandemic, which has resulted in these extended lockdowns the world over, medical professionals have been saying that it is the next pandemic we might witness is that of mental health issues, Dr. Shah. So, whenever somebody, a patient of health diseases, weeks, maybe months of depressions, and then finally he or she takes the extreme step, the close people wonder, friends and family wonder why they did it. This why is on everybody's lips. In fact, even patients themselves don't realize the signs of depression. So, Dr. Shah, can you help us understand what are these telltale signs of depression?
Sure. First, let me open with this statement that depression is a very common problem, very much prevalent in our society. And you rightly said, immediately after this corona pandemic, experts are predicting pandemic of this depression is going to set in. So it's better we prepare ourselves for this illness, and if we are prepared, then we will not fumble the way we are fumbling with the coronavirus. We don't know anything about coronavirus, but we know lots about depression, and just awareness will be enough to contain this pandemic.
Right. So can you, yeah.
Sure. Now coming to what is depression?
Yes.
Word depression is very loosely applied. As a layman, if you ask me what is depression, if I have lost something, some dear one, or if my expectations are mismatched, then I will say I'm sad, I'm upset, I'm not feeling good, I'm getting irritated. So that's what a lay person will say, sadness is a depression. But when we talk of a medical depression, it's quite different. In this, there is a pervasive sadness of mood, and that persists for not a short duration, but it persists for days. Usually we say depressive disorder when a person is in that state for more than 14 days, until and unless it's very severe depression. So that pervasive sadness of mood, which affects a person's day-to-day life, whether it's professional life, personal life, everything gets affected. And despite making effort to come out of this state, a person is not able to get out of that state. That morbidness that persists. So this is in general a medical depression. For medical depression, you don't need any worldly situation. It can happen without even any worldly reason, because this is an illness. There's something wrong inside. It's not necessarily outside stressful factor will precipitate depression.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So, Dr. Shah, how does a patient of depression really assess his or her feelings? How do we understand when sadness gives way to depression?
Yes, very good question. As I said, that as a normal individual, I will feel sad if I in a certain situation. If I don't feel sad, that's also normal, isn't it? and we react to the environment emotionally. We react to environment with our intellect and by our actions. Now, when I will repeat the same thing again, when sadness is pervasive and so morbid that person, despite his all effort, is not able to get out of that state, then this is a depressive illness. What happens in this is first mood is affected. Mood means either person will be sad, irritable, anxious, agitated, anxious, or his thought process will be affected that he is so pessimistic on trivial issues. He will get panicky. He will feel worthless, helpless, and everything around him is black and gray. Nothing, no bright shades. His other symptoms will be drive is gone. Not there's so much inertia in him. He feels so fatigued. He's not able to do day-to-day chores. Not able to concentrate. Not able to sleep properly. Or he sleeps so much. Appetite is gone. Sexual life is gone. No interaction, interest in anything around. So these are the most common symptoms. And if it's very severe, then person gets into the state, what you said in your opening remarks, suicide.
Dr. Shah, is there any way for people, since Sushant Singh Rajput suicide or whenever such unfortunate news comes, everybody talks about mental illness and they say, we are there for you. If you feel sad, if you feel depressed, reach out to us. My doors are always open. How do we understand? How do we make such people come out and, confide in us? Is that possible for laymen who are not medical professionals?
See, nowadays we don't have time. If you ask me a basic in why metropolis, why this is increasing so much, honestly, we don't have time for it. Okay. If somebody approaches us also, we listen for 2 minutes and we have our opinion. We all have our opinion. We will give our do this, do that, and
yes.
we don't give him time. He has not yet opened up to us. He just started. He's just testing you whether you will listen to his inner pain or not. So that is the main problem. We are not listener anymore. We all have. We are all opinionated persons. There are very few listeners.
Yes.
True. And the second thing is, people don't trust whether you will able to maintain that confidential. If you sharing something inner thought with some person, confidentiality is very important. So,
yes,
you're able to identify a person around you like that, then definitely a person in need will share his or her thoughts and pain. Otherwise, you have to come to a professional who are obligated to maintain confidentiality and give time.
Yes. Yes. So, how can, when somebody takes such extreme steps, or even if they don't, if they're going through a period of depression, you question their immediate friends and family. How can they help? Can they help at all?
Yeah, sure. Very rarely the depression will be so acute and abrupt that a person will very next day commit suicide. Until and unless something sin a person has created. Those are very rare, very rare. If a person has created sin or the thinnest of the sin, then also it will take some time for a person to go into that state of mind that a person commits. When a person is in that state, we all in the cities, we have a separate public space. Okay, our inner state we will not reflect it to the outside world.
Mm.
And most of the time, we are outside catering to people around us. So we are rarely in our normal self. Rarely we
Right.
display our normal self in people
Right.
who are who are our own. So if we talk about this person,
Mm-hmm.
he is in the industry where he is
Mm.
expected to have that smiling face 24/7.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So
Yes.
nobody will come to know what is his inner state is.
Mm.
And if he's 24/7 into his profession,
Mm-hmm.
he will not have a time to portray himself also in that state.
Yes.
So
True.
we have to give the first thing as a person, we need to give time for ourselves, for us and people who are close to us. Not everybody can be close
Mm.
to us. Few people we have to shortlist,
Yes.
and we have to portray our inner feelings, emotions. Then only we will able to
Mm.
survive happily in
Mm.
difficult stages.
Yes.
I'm not saying severe depression, yeah, otherwise also. To
Correct.
preempt
Correct.
with this kind of thing.
Mm.
So once a person, if you have a good friend or a family member, then you will allow some time with that person. A person will definitely approach, or if you find some change in behavior in that person, you need to approach and just
Mm.
you have to initiate and wait for that person to talk.
Mm. Correct.
What we do, we initiate, but we don't have much time. We have other
Yes.
engagements also. So we have to give time. A person may be mum for few minutes,
Mm. Mm.
but over a
Right.
period of time, the person opens up in most of the cases. That is
Correct.
how we need to approach. Yeah.
Right. Dr. Shah, is there any particular age group or people who are engaged in, say, some particular profession who are more susceptible to feelings of depression, or can this happen in anybody, even if they have, a great amount of, they have money, sufficient money to sustain themselves, they have family backing, and even then something like depression can strike?
Well, depression can happen to anyone at any age. Okay. And for that, you don't need any reason also. That I said at right at the answer. For depression, you don't need any reason. You can be well
Right.
off, you can be at the top, but
Hmm.
still you can have a severe depression. People at top are alone. You need to know. They don't have
Correct.
people around them. They have many people around them who are,
Hmm.
but they will not share. The person who is at top will not share his thoughts with people who are around. So that person is
Yes.
lonely. Okay. Now it can happen to any age group. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Most commonly we see in a middle age, but the demography is now changing because younger people have also started talking about their feelings. Earlier, like society of ours, parents will talk for the children, not children can talk for themselves. The same is with women
Mm-hmm.
in Indian society. Earlier, men would talk for the woman, they would advocate for the woman. Now, a woman can also talk about
Yes.
her feelings, about her feelings. So they also have many issues. So
Hmm.
depression is happening across the population, irrespective of age, socio-demographic strata. It can happen to anyone. Now, there are few protective factors. But there are few protective factors that we have seen. Family, if there is a family, chances of our social support system, chances of depression is less. People who are religious or follow some cult or sect, they have a less of a depression, less stressful life. depression is.
Okay. Dr. Saha, if say I am a patient of depression, then what tools does such a person have to reach out on this? Suppose this person does not want to access their family or friends, and they want to understand their condition themselves, they want to keep it to themselves, and yet they want help, they're seeking help. What can they do?
The best way is to reach out to a professional. You bypass family that way, because for adults at least, the dynamic changes, keeps on changing. Family dynamic keeps on changing. Among the friends also, dynamic keeps on changing. So that scares at times, that if I tell him or her about this, how a person is going to react. So the best is to approach a professional, seek a unbiased opinion, professional opinion. If you have a difficulty in going to a professional's clinic, now online option is available, and that is legal now. So help is around. A person needs to seek.
Right. Uh, yes, Dr. Shah, another thing, there is a, do you believe that people who are in the millennial generation, people who are young, are increasingly, they're connected online, but their actual lives, their off the grid lives are not that social. They don't have people they can physically, face to face speak to. Is excess use of social media in any way connected to mental health issues, and how can we regulate our use of social media?
If you live in a real world to survive, then only you will become a fit person. If you are in a virtual world, then you are in that illusion. Real world is quite different from the virtual world. And
Yes.
the virtual world, or what we call social media, there is also a huge herd mentality. We get some information. We have a very small universe of knowledge,
Yes.
and we make our opinion about the world.
Yes.
Our many of our skills, real life skills, we are losing because of this virtual world. Whether it's to do with calculation, whether it's to do with interaction, all this is getting affected. Most what is affected is our daily schedule. We are compromising our sleep. If we are compromising our sleep, means we are compromising everything.
Correct.
Sleep, you need to understand this body is a complex machine and needs everyday servicing, and the servicing happens in sleep. And if a servicing doesn't happen properly, you're bound to have a major flaw in this machine.
Correct.
So we need to have a few hours, a dedicated time devoted for this social media or this virtual whatever. It's not just a social media. Internet addiction has a very broad definition,
Yes.
including all those network games that have the sense of accomplishment that people get from those games. They think they have conquered the world. That is again a illusion. So need to have some moderation about this.
Correct. Also, doctor, can an individual, there are certain apprehensions that anyone going through such diseases they have. in reaching out even to medical professionals. So how would you, how would you make dispel all that? How do we dispel the stigma around mental health? How do we tell them it's okay to contact a medical professional if you're going through a period of sadness? And when should a person really know that this is the time I need to reach out, and not afterwards, or afterwards it'll be too late?
First and foremost will be to seek help from people around. If you have a confidence in people around you, please go ahead and seek help. Talk to them about your feelings. If you are not confident that the person will able to keep this confidential, or has so much of aptitude that he or she will able to help you, it's always good to seek a professional help. Let me tell you that out of 5, 3 people suffer from this illness. This medical depression. I'm not talking of any other psychiatric illness.
Yes.
Medical depression. So it's rampant. And with this current situation of corona, the things have become back to worse. So don't feel that you are the only person who is seeking help from a psychiatrist, or a psychologist. If you go to any of the clinic, you will see a big queue, big appointment list. So everybody is seeking help from the professional. So don't think that you are the only one suffering.
Okay.
And people get help. That's why they go to a professional. And I can tell you, if you seek a professional help, most 99% of the people will definitely will able to get out of this state.
Right. When mental health awareness is not very much there in our society, which is a good place to start. I believe schools are a good place to start telling students about mental health, because there are cases of stress management that students can't do during exams. Maybe starting off at a young age would help. Do you think our educational system is doing enough to prepare students for a life beyond school rather than just to prepare them for exams?
See, our education system is quite diversified and variable quality-wise. In major schools in Delhi NCR, I can tell, or in many of the metro cities, the concept of a school that we have is quite different in other part of the country. So we need to understand that in many schools they have already initiated mental health drive, and it is done in a way of a positive health. And there are many seminars, workshops, talks in the school to sensitize children. And they are quite open. In the cities, at least, many children are open about talking about their mental health. But in other parts of the country, things have not happened the way it should happen. It's not just with the mental health, even the basic infrastructure and other facilities are also not there.
Yeah.
So media plays a very important role here. For if we can educate mothers, for example, or fathers don't have play a major important role in Indian society with respect to they have to spend time in livelihood. So if we can educate mothers, they can take care of their children in that part of the world. So media has a major role to play, if you ask me. Schools in some cities, they are doing very well, and others will definitely catch up. The stigma, if you ask me, stigma has gone down markedly, and people have started talking about it. Many celebrities have also started talking about it, and this is a positive sign.
Yes.
And with time, society evolves.
Correct. Right. This might be a common question you get asked, doctor, but many people wonder why patients of mental health cases, why they take the extreme step? Is there a trigger?
Well, the need to understand there is two different types. One is the impulsive act. Impulsive act, it's not necessarily all the suicide. With respect to suicide, I'm talking to. Sometimes a major fight or breakup happens and the person impulsively goes and does something and that leads to a major accident. That is totally different. And the other is in a medical depression, a person is so pessimistic, so sad, so gloomy, so worthless, so helpless. He feels that it's not worth living life. It's so intense. So he plans out, he makes some arrangement, put some notes, then commit that act. So the, there need not be any trigger in that case when a person is in severe depression. It's the severity of illness that drives that person to act on this.
I understand. And lastly, doctor, for people who are, our lives are stressful, we are increasingly connected, but then disconnected from our friends and families. Lives are fast, everybody's struggling to get ahead, all of that. We're all going through stress in our lives. What would be some basic guidelines you'd suggest to keep ourselves mentally healthy?
Important thing, one universal word of wisdom is our locus of control should be inside. By that I mean we should have our own yardstick and we should move according to that rather than getting influenced by world around us. If we compare ourselves with the world around us, we will be never content. We never compare ourselves with the people who are below us. We compare with the people above us. So then we will never be happy. So what is important is we should have an inner locus of control rather than outer locus of control. Then if there is a contentment, there is less chances of getting stress. As I said, depression can happen because of many reasons, but stress is one of the precipitating factors. And giving time to self and people whom we care for, we need to give time to them. If we give time to them, they will reciprocate during our time of crisis also.
All right, Dr. Amitabh Saha, that would be all this time. Thanks very much for joining us. It was helpful to have this conversation with you, and I hope it was the same for our viewers as well. Thank you very much for joining us.